afternoon is State Representative Regina Young. Welcome, Representative Young. We are honored to have you here today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I do appreciate it.
We'd just like for you to tell us, who is Regina Young?
So, I will say Regina Young is just a person trying to figure out life and trying to make decisions and choices that's not only going to be impactful for myself and my family, but for other people. And so what I realized in my career choices, everything speaks to service. And so as I'm seeking to make sure that we are creating a better place to live for everybody, I'm propelled to certain tables and certain titles, I would say. But I assure you, I am just one person just trying to do the best she can, and it just leads me to different tables. So I don't see myself as doing anything magical or magnificent. I just really just want to do the right thing by people and for people.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Since this is Women's History Month, and that is the reason you're here today, because we want to just highlight you for our Women's History Month. Can you tell me, what does Women's History Month mean to you?
I will say Women's History Month means that it's just a reminder of our place in society and our impact in the world. And this is just a time where we just celebrate that. However, and we highlight it more than usual where people are paying attention. But I do think women are just magnificent beings as a whole. And it's unfortunate that oftentimes we have to reduce ourselves to a month of celebration. But I think the more we normalize our success stories and our impact, then people will start just celebrating humanity. My whole goal is celebrating humanity. If we really respect people where they are and where they see themselves in this world, well, then every day could be a celebration for somebody. We don't have to reduce it down to a particular month or a particular day. We should just celebrate humanity, because we're worth celebrating, in my opinion.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Representative Young, if you could have coffee, tea, or whatever your beverage of choice is with any historical figure, who would you choose and why?
This is going to really sound rehearsed, but I promise you, nobody brought this world to life for me like, I would say Shirley Chisholm, and that the boldness and the courage that she had while risking her voice to be heard it was way before her time, and she did it in such an unapologetic way. And in her, her quest or, campaign to become president, she just resonated with the people. She really spoke to the people. She spoke to their needs. And even though the system and the network wasn't embracing her, it didn't stop her message. And so clearly, by no comparison at all, am I trying to say I'm a Shirley Chisholm, but I do recognize the complexities it is in government and just trying to be heard at different tables, and sometimes even our own, right? Even in our own communities, people see us and they count us out because of who they think we are based on what somebody already told them. And so our message and our movement becomes a little harder, but we don't let it stop us. And so I would like to just hear some words from her, or just like, I would like to sit and talk with her. And my beverage of choice, it really does depend on the day. If it's a really hard, long day, I know I'm going into, is definitely a strong cup of espresso. However, if I think if I have a lot going on and my nerves are crazy and it's going to be a nervous day, then my beverage of choice is tea. But if I ever, have opportunity to sit with Shirley Chisholm, it would be whatever she wants. That's what we drinking.
Wow. Wow, that's good. I remember Shirley Chisholm, and I just remember she looked like she was a small woman with a big accomplishments. I'll say that she looked, and if I'm not mistaken, she ran for president, didn't she? At one time.
That's correct. Right, boldness. You know how much boldness is required to that. Like, listen, I'm just gonna stay true to my message. And the truth of the matter is, although it highlighted the black and brown voices of America, it wasn't specifically for them. And that's the beauty of where we should be in America. Americans should just highlight the liberties of all Americans. But we can't quiet the voice of those, in marginalized communities. And I think she did that in such an eloquent way. But people were just so threatened by her strength that, they did what they felt they needed to do. But I will say her message definitely permeated in my work.
I like that. Highlight all the voices in the community. That's good. Well, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Now, you said you would like to have coffee with her, but can you tell our listeners who are the three most influential people in your life and how they impacted you?
Three most influential people in my life. So one, I will say my firstborn son, my firstborn. I think when he was born, he pushed me to create a world that I felt comfortable for him to live in. And he was a baby, so it wasn't like he was saying it, right? Until he was old enough, like he was just a curious kid and always asked a bunch of questions. But I knew, I was always fearful to have children, so I didn't even really want to have children because I was always scared. So when actually I had, when I got pregnant and had my son, I said, oh my goodness, then that pressure is really on. Like I have to figure out a way to create a better, space for him to thrive in and live in and flourish. And I need for him to know that this world belongs to all of us. And so I didn't know how I wanted to create the world, but I know I needed to do something. And so he would be my first. Because he, in my opinion, I know he directly depended on me, and so I needed to be all for him. So if that makes sense. So he would be my first. My second would be my daughter, and that's gonna sound corny too, but it's the truth. So my son, just because I wanted to experience or have my children have a better tomorrow. I realized with my daughter being a young black girl, I need for her to understand that she have a unique role in this world as well. And the environment in which we live in and the way society informs black and brown women, they're categorized and they're ascribed upon and they're told what their beauty and what their significance need to look like. And I remember when, I think she was around 4 years old, she was really enamored with Beyonce and Nicki Minaj, and she was like, she loved the hair, she loved the eyelashes, she loved like everything the opposite of what she and I possessed. And I remember thinking, oh no, we can't have you define beauty that way. And I remember buying all these black books on black hair and what beauty looks like. And now I think when she became 10, she started really embracing that. And then she wanted to just be natural and just wear braids or, afros and stuff like that. And so I realized even in that, I need for her to understand that beauty comes at a cost. And you need to also be bold and courageous, and you also need to be brilliant. And so I, encourage her to, not focus on what you see, but focus on where you're trying to go. And I remember informing her years ago the importance of creating a space that you want to thrive in. And sometimes, she's young and she's in an urban environment, so sometimes she makes choices that I didn't necessarily agree with. But and the mom in me was like, you know what, you're going to have to live those choices out, right? If you think this is the best fit for you, well, let's see where that takes you. And I had to allow her to see real time on what her decisions can do, either to her or for her. And so she inspires me because I realize I have to be her first role model. And so she pushes me as a black woman to lead and exhibit what leadership looks like. So the third person who I will say who propels me is my mom. And she does it in a very indirect way. It wasn't like her presence spoke to anything that I'm doing now. But my mom's life is, by comparison, looks opposite of where I am and my accomplishments. But what I like to tell people is that who am I to say what would not have happened or what could have happened if my mom wasn't around, right? So my mom, she didn't work, or she didn't she depended on the system a lot, and very she liked to embrace opportunities. I'll just say that, right?
Okay.
And so what I realize is, even though her choices were different from mine, and some of her decision making, who am I to say I didn't learn what to do or what not to do because of the choices she made?
Exactly.
People, like to minimize folks based on their, socioeconomic status or their educational system, or even what their character flaws may look like to some. I just like to, remind myself, more importantly, my mom didn't get it all wrong, because here I am, right?
Exactly.
So that's how I would say indirectly that's my mom would be my third.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. It made me think when you were talking about your daughter and, just growing up and letting her see what beauty really is, and what, especially with our hair and the lashes and all that. And I remember young growing up, and I just remember this commercial where if you put this, I'm looking at the commercial and I'm looking at, the Caucasian lady, and I'm like, oh, she put that on her hair, and her hair turns out beautiful. And I can't tell you the time I went to the store buying that, thinking that my hair would turn out like that. No.
Right.
So it's so important to know our beauty, where our beauty lies, and that and that is something that you have placed in her. I think that's excellent. And then me and my sister were just talking the other day about my mom. We had it was like 4 or 5 of them, and all of them were like in ministry except for our mom. And I was just telling her, I'm grateful for the things that our mom taught us, because we got the religious value, we got everything we needed, but our mother taught us the Bible and instinct. Yes, she did.
Exactly.
So that was
exactly,
really
and that's
good.
another thing. Yeah, those survivor instincts cannot be taught. And so when people, especially family members, because the family members are the hardest critics, when they see you and then they want to say, what kind of value your parents have in you. But I would say, and my mom, she will, run around telling everybody all the great things that she believes she did. And I never, and people ask me, like, why don't you ever correct her? And I said, well, who's to say she's wrong, right? And so it wows people, because they're like, well, why would you say that? And I'm like, because I don't know what got me to this space. Like, I have no idea. So who am I to say she's wrong? I'm not going to tell her she's wrong, because I don't believe she's wrong. What I do realize is that God is in control, and the moment I take something out of what I believe I needed, then He reminds me. It ain't about you, Regina, because I'm very clear about that. My existence and my accomplishments or whatever is not about me at all. So I'm very clear about that. I'm here to impact lives, and so that's all I focus on.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. So as I was saying, I was looking over your bio, and I see all the accomplishments that you've had, all the training, all the skills from education, community, leadership, degrees, even in divinity. So my question to you, Representative Young, why politics? Out of all the you look like the world was your oyster. Why politics?
So what I like to let people know is that this is not something I sought after at all. I did not seek after this at all. What I realized is that through my questioning and my efforts to really expand the mindset in the world of my children, I was led here to this space because I was not looking for it. As a matter of fact, my predecessor, I had several conversations with her about things that I wanted to see done in my community, and I even told her back in 2018 that people want me to, run against you, and I don't know if she took me seriously because if you would have asked anybody, I wasn't a politician or somebody who one would even look at to be a politician. So I can understand her dismissing my comments. I can understand that. So in 2019, when I said it again, and she still, in my opinion, made no effort to show that she was invested in the community. I made a bold move and just quit my job, and I said, well, I'm going to run for your seat. And to be honest with you, it was to just call her bluff, right? It wasn't to let her know I'm watching you, and I'm going to come for your seat. Because the way politics is structured, there is no reason at all. There's no justification there. Actually, I was just called an urban legend not too long ago because everything I did was opposite of what is normally going on in politics. Absolutely everything. I had no money. I had no name. I had no footprint outside of my community. It was everything that people would think the making of a politician would look like. I had opposite of it all. So nobody was even giving me a second thought. And then here I show up. And I win by a landslide. So now people have to pay attention. But I will say this, although the promotion or the eyes of everybody is pretty real, I will say my message is still really simple, and that is just focus on your why. My why was my children. My why is making sure that we're being impactful in our community, and that's all I focus on even to this day, even being elected and running unopposed my second term. I'm just focusing on my why. My why is my children.
Wow.
So to answer your question, I wasn't seeking to be a politician. I was seeking to be a supermom. I was seeking to be a supermom, and here I am.
And that, I guess that was the best motivator for you, to see, things betterment for your children. That was a great motivator. My goodness, yeah.
Oh, God is good. Listen, I do not take it for granted. I don't take anything for granted. My son, I could just go on and on about him. He just got accepted to every last college that he wanted to get accepted to. He's my daughter, who I call her. I say she's always going to succeed begrudgingly. I said she's going to walk into success kicking and screaming because that's just how she is. But now she has she's on the honor roll. She has A's and B's in her, and then she's on the honor societies. Like, so those are the things that I'm just like, what? Only God. Only God. Only God. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. And then they're great in their own right. The people who connect with my children are those who love them for them. Like my daughter is just so thoughtful and so nurturing and so caring. She's such a leader. Like, I love her. She is the mom, mini me, like mom. She's the mini mom. Because she's going to be the one that's going to cook for you, make sure you're fine, make sure that you feel safe, make sure that you feel heard. she's going to be the one who's going to cater to you. My son, he's going to be that male figure who listens to you, who does stuff for you, right? He doesn't want to see you stressed out, so he's going to come to you and say, what do you need? He, well-rounded children, balanced children. So, listen, God is amazing. But I would like to say, it's not just me. I do have a husband, and he's pretty amazing as well. So it's not like me pouring in to these amazing kids. Like, I've been married. It'll be 21 years this year.
Congratulations.
In 21 years. And my son he'll be 18 this year, and my daughter will be 15. So I was married a few years before, we started having kids. And so we're intentional about our parenting for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
So it's not just me. I ain't no super single mom. I definitely have help.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. I'll tell you, I was going to say, ask your kids if they want another auntie. They sound like they
Listen, we take them all. I call so another thing is, so my son is graduating, and we're going to have like a big community, graduation birthday party. And of course, he's like, well, Mom, some things need to be private. I said, no. I said, Stephen, I think you need to understand you're a community baby. You're a community baby, meaning, as great as I think I am, I know I couldn't do anything without help. And you got to let people know when they're part of your success story. I think in the black community, black and brown community, we don't do enough of that anymore, which is letting people know the value that they add to our lives and in our situation. And there's so many people who poured into me when I wasn't sure as confident in my parenting on what I was doing right or wrong. I mean, I would be crying. I would be so nervous and just so scared because I want them to have, I just want them to feel safe and, supported. So I talk to everybody. If you were around me, you got my story, because I realized later for the pride, I needed support. And so as we know in the Bible, pride falls before destruction. So I wasn't one of those people who suffered in silence. If I was hurting, I'll tell you if I was hurting. If I needed help in the area, I'm the one who will tell you I needed help. So yeah, my babies are definitely communal, and they understand the value and the impact of community.
It's funny. I'm glad you had that scripture reference right. A lot of times people say, "Oh, pride goes before the fall." I said, "No, it goes before destruction." So
it's a difference. A fall is a trip. Destruction is destroying.
Yes. I'm glad you had that. Was good.
Oh yeah, I don't play with that.
Scriptures. What goes? Like the Bible says, what goes up must come down. I'm like, that's not in the Bible. But
show me the scripture. That's what I tell people. Show me what you're talking about.
Well, Representative Young, when you are having some of those challenging days, or going through those challenges we face as women, have you ever had in your career those challenges? And as a woman, we're highlighting women's history, and as a woman, have you had some challenges that you had to overcome or in your career?
Well,
I hope I said that you can.
Yeah. Well, the laws itself, as you know, the past elections, especially in PA, was very important, because here we had, someone who's not political at all trying to take away the women's right to choose, and the laws that was trying to be imposed to the women in the Commonwealth, it just wasn't fair, and that we don't have the right, like the law that they were, as a woman, if there's 15-year-olds, so the law that they were trying to propose is even if you got pregnant through incest or raped as a child, the law that they were trying to impose is that you still have to keep that baby. If you are 15 years old, this is the simplest way I can put it. you're 15 years old and you're raped by, somebody in your house and they impregnate you even as a child, the law that they were trying to have in PA is that you still have to keep that baby. Now, not only did you experience trauma as a child, but now you want to force a child to have a child through a rapist. It was just so crazy to me. And so who am I to impose those kind of, laws on women and children? And so to your question, have I ever felt impacted by my gender in government? It has its place, but I will say those of us who are from the hood, I like to say, we know street code, and that I also see how people, that Me Too movement, I'm going to put this out there. The Me Too movement is not for black and brown women. I said it, and I'm going to stand on that. The Me Too women, no, we have our own movement, and if our issues, we don't have the luxuries of crying victim when it's convenient. We don't have those luxuries as black and brown women. So when you are in a bar drinking and you're getting loose and flirty and if somebody responds, because that's a natural human thing to do, you can't then say, oh, well, no, I didn't really want you to like me like that. And now I'm offended because you like me like that. And I don't like how you are looking at me. And now I'm offended. So now you are a womanizer. I'm confused by that. We don't have the luxuries of having those type of descriptions. And so to each his own, but that's not me. So I'm not owning that. So I haven't had any direct type of gender biases that I can name in this moment. No, but I'm pretty sure it's out there.
All right. All right. When you are facing those challenging days, what's your stabilizing force, your go-to for strength and encouragement?
So I am a little different in that I leave. So when I'm in an environment that I think is not healthy for me, and it's challenging me mentally and emotionally, I do remove myself. So that's number one. You have to put up boundaries, and you have to be okay with those boundaries. And so that's one thing. Number two, I definitely go into prayer because there's nothing wrong with removing yourself from the situation and then stabilizing. You have to be driven by your moral compass. I'm 100% driven by my moral compass. So that means prayer, and that means fasting. I definitely fast. I definitely read my word. And I start my day off generally with reading my word, and then I'll have some worship. So I do make that a practice of doing that. And then during the day, when it becomes a little hectic, then I will pivot accordingly. But I have no problem. I realize I am not here for any other purpose than to serve and to represent the kingdom. And so whenever I am challenged in making those hard decisions, and I retreat back to what I know to do, which is going to prayer, going to fasting, going to reading my word, and then talking to like-minded people.
All right. That's good.
Yeah, it's important.
Because I see you out there in different places and different spaces, and I know sometimes it has to be a little challenging. So I'm glad you do have something, your strength, your stabilizing force. So that's so needed.
Oh yeah, it's a lot, but it's worth it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So Representative Young, what is your superpower?
If I have to say I have one, it would be self-awareness is my superpower, and knowing what my boundaries look like, what I am, the energy that I'm putting out there. I read how people engage, and I will say that I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at my own biases, hence I just shared with you. I'm pretty good at my own biases. I'm pretty good at identifying where I'm challenged at, in terms of my thought process or my behavior, my attitude. I'm pretty self-aware there, and oftentimes I will let people know I'm growing in a space. So that's something that's interestingly rare here. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it is. But I'm okay with letting people know that I'm not having a good day, or I don't necessarily like the message that they're putting out there. Like, I'm okay with letting people know that. My job is to just share information. I'm big on understanding that information is power. And so you don't have to like the information being shared. You just got to respect it.
Wow, that's good. That's good. You may not think that is a superpower, but that is being self-aware. That is, a lot of people are not. Are not.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
You know yourself, and you can. That's
oh
wonderful.
yeah, I have family members who you just say, Regina, you're just so mean, and you're just so direct. I was like, I'm sorry, my intentions are not to be mean at all, but my intention is to just make sure we're cutting through all the nonsense or all the gray area or the crazy facade. I just cut through the chase because I don't have the mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical energy for any of that. And so if you ask certain family members, I'm pretty sure they will say I've had this mindset for quite some years. So it's not even developed as a politician. I've been like this for a while, very, very direct, to the point where it's not always welcome, but it's appreciated because now you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and that helps you. That is your superpower. One of your things you go to, and I believe that was built in you for where you are, to help you navigate through those places. Yeah, I tell you, this is awesome. What is the one word? What is the one word you would use to describe yourself?
Resilient. I know that really quickly because I say it all the time. People ask me that question. I would say resilient. I'm very resilient. I'm very resilient in that if I believe there's something I want to experience or I should be able to experience, I will work hard to get it. Because, for one, I'm a teacher. I got to teach my kids what persistence look like, and you can never lose when you bet on yourself. So I got to model that out for them. So I'm very resilient.
All right. Well, thank you. And this is our last question. I can't believe we got through these questions so fast. We as women are shaping history. We are shaping history, especially women of color. And shaping history despite insurmountable tasks we've had to endure. I believe our mothers, grandmothers, and aunties would be proud of the things that we've accomplished. But what are some of the ongoing challenges that our daughters still have to contend with, and what would be your advice to them?
So, because
I hope that
I
wasn't
talked
too
about my daughter.
A question.
No. What I hear you ask is, based on our ancestors' fight for us to be seen and heard and valued, what are the existing things that our kids still have to see, and then how would I help prepare them to push forward? Is what I heard you say.
Yes.
So, so when I ran my campaign, I did one of my things I used to oftentimes say is that my people survived the transatlantic, they survived slavery and segregation for me to be in this space, and they endured such trauma and hardships for me to be able to be that beacon for our people. And so what I would like to share with my daughter and then, the generations that she represents and then even our future is that don't stop until everybody understands your light. People see the light all the time. We just elected in the state of PA our first black woman speaker. She's absolutely amazing. Listen, I'm biased, so I would just say Joanna McClinton is the best pick for the state of PA. But until everybody can appreciate and see her presence in the way in that it should be felt as a leader, not simply as a black woman or the first, but just as a person, a competent leader who can lead the Democratic Party in the House. Until we can all understand her presence, we still got work to do. So my advice and suggestion to women and girls is keep pushing until you're at a space where everybody can appreciate your presence. Not just see it, because we see it all the time. We see black women rising all the time, but let's be clear, not everybody clapping. Not everybody's clapping. Even the ones who's with your party, they're not clapping. Because people want to see themselves in the human, just in our own humanity. We want to see ourselves in a highlighted space. So just think about ourselves. How often are we clapping and celebrating other people who don't look like us loudly? We're not doing that as loud. So we can't expect other people to do it for us. But until we get to the common denominator of humanity and embracing the strengths and the qualifications of people, we all still have work to do.
Oh, that's good. That is good. Wow. Well, thank you, Representative Regina Young, for joining us today and highlighting Women's History Month. Where can our listeners reach you?
So I'm all over social media at repregginayoung.com, repregginayoung.com, but even on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I'm Rep Regina Young. So kind of easy. But if anybody wants to email me, it's Rep Regina Young. Or just the best thing I always let people know to do is subscribe to my website, and that way you get everything that I'm doing. You get to know what bills I'm pushing. That the bills that I push represents everybody in PA, but you get to know the bills that I'm pushing. You get to know the efforts that I'm making, but also you get to learn ways, as you know, to join my team whenever I am having something that I think can be helpful to you. I can include you in if you make yourself aware that, hey, I want to volunteer. I want to know more about what you're doing before it's done. I mean, I'm having a mental health workshop on the 31st. It's going to be in Southwest Philly. So in the planning of that, people want to know sometimes how can I be a part of that before it actually comes out. So the volunteer piece is really important for my team because I rely on people to help me push out not only events but the message, because like I shared with you, and hopefully it resonated in this interview, like I just want people to be empowered with information so they can move, because I don't think there's anything special about me at all. I'm just activated and motivated by serving. And if that's something you're focused on doing, anybody can do it. That's the real message behind Regina Young. We're all created equal, as we all know in the biblical term. And so God, He's going to give you your portion. And what you do with your portion, He gives you the freedom of choice and free will. So what are you going to do with your portion? I'm just trying to maximize my portion. And when my time is up, my time is up.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you again for joining us today. I really appreciated it and really got a lot out of it. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank you.
You're sweet. You're always so kind. Thank you. And again, my apologies for the tardiness.
Well, you're a busy woman. You're a busy woman. And you're trying to get us all empowered where we can be on point like you are. So, again, many, many thanks. Many, many thanks. And we just want all our listeners to know that we are here every day for the prayer line, every day from Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. You can call in for live prayer, and that's every day, Monday through Friday. And on Sunday mornings at 8, you can hear a live sermon. So come on out and join us weekly and on Sunday. And then on Monday night at 8 p.m., there's a Bible study, the Breakthru Bible Study. So please come on out and join us. And again, Thank you so much, State Representative Regina Young, for joining us today and highlighting Women's History Month. We are grateful for you and continue to hold you up in prayer, you and your family, and thank you for sharing and all the things that you do.
It's my pleasure. Thank you again for the invitation.
All right. Thank you.
Good morning, good and welcome to the Breakthru, where every day we come together believing God for breakthrough. Breakthrough, 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 breakthrough. We're believing for a breakthrough, 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 breakthrough. 'Cause you're the God of the breakthrough, 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 breakthrough. Still believing for a breakthrough, 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 breakthrough. This is the breakthrough, y'all. Morning wake-up call. We get our faith involved. We lay our burdens down. Jesus takes them all away. We know that Jesus hears us when we pray, and we're praying every day. When 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, we know that He'll be present. 2 or 3 are gathered, and we're thanking Him for every blessing. We thank Him for the bills that He paid. We thank Him for the meals that He gave. We know it's 'cause of God we overcame. We thank Him for the promises He made us, and for His word and how it's changing us. Father, we thank You for the breakthrough. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank You. Father, we thank You for the breakthrough. For every answered prayer, every testimony, every breakthrough. Breakthrough, 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 breakthrough. We're believing for a breakthrough, 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 breakthrough. 'Cause You're the God of the